finding opportunities to look into social business, looking into corporate social responsibilities. I do have some pamphlets, etc., for those who are interested, and you may pick up afterwards. And hopefully in the future, I have the opportunity to make some presentations. I would like to ask all of the presenters to take a seat. It looks like it's taking shape. We are rather limited in time, so I will refrain from summarizing all of the presentations, etc. And I think we can focus on that there have been a number of presentations that focused on, first, what is happening in terms of climate change, what is the urge, what are the reasons, it's an urgent issue. Secondly, moving into a number of examples of what is being done and what can be done. And finally, looking from the other side, not from the business side, of the opportunities to work together with development initiatives and other things to be able to promote issues in addressing climate change and other environmental issues. So I would appreciate if everybody can stick within those three frameworks and not drift on to other perhaps interesting areas, but if we can stick to those three themes, I would appreciate it. I will also refrain from asking all of our presenters to make additional comments, etc. However, I would give you the opportunities, if you have something very urgent you would like to say before we open the floor to our participants here. Please, if you have something really you would like to add that adds to your presentation or that was in commentary on somebody else's, feel free to do so. Otherwise, we would move into asking questions to the panel. And please, as in ordinary customs, if you could please state your name and your affiliation before you are directing your question, and you can direct your question to somebody directly or the panel in general.
If I may. First of all, thank you all speakers for helping me to bring it around 6. We're almost there. Thank you all. Plenty of questions, plenty of notes, but I thought I'll take an opportunity. For me, I was telling someone just now, I've gone to this length, doing 2 conferences in the span of 2 weeks. So as Stuart is smiling at me, I've been called nuts. I can live with that. But my objective at the end of the day is to bring out examples in front of us. I have an example today, worth emulating for all of us. Now this gentleman is 16 years old, okay? And he has been fascinated by what has been going on. I discovered this gentleman through a book he prepared at one of my meetings a month ago. He's a student of AIS International School. And I think some of you got a book today. Where's the book? Where's the book? Okay, where's the book? Get me a copy. But before I introduce the gentleman, yeah. Oh, thanks. Reducing your carbon footprint. Easy tips to reduce your impact. Now, when I saw this book, I didn't know it was prepared by this young man. I met him today for the first time. I talked to his coordinator. If I knew how to put him in the speakers panel with all your speakers' permission, because Save the Planet, we're going to save the planet for them, right? Because somebody said we're going to plant the tree, but the shade is for them, not for us. So here is a gentleman who's preparing a book like this. What can I say? I'm thrilled. We need more examples like him. I am sure we should begin with him if you give him the honor today. I think he has some questions to ask. So let me ask my first question, then your second. Is that okay? His name is Ishan Kabra. Okay, my question to all of you is, I asked this question at my on the last summit. Give me one single, this is a question. What would be that one single obstacle? Thank you.
Yeah, can we start?
Let me go first on that one. I hope that everyone will have an answer for that. I'm not going to answer that, Roy. I'm not going to answer that theoretically. I'm not going to answer that for what anybody outside of this room should do, because that's irrelevant, because no one outside of this room will hear my answer. So my answer is what everyone inside of this room should do. And it's a general answer, but not a dodge in the least. After 100 or so of times gave my presentation, I heard myself saying to people enough times that we should rise to our highest level, that I decided I needed to follow my own advice. And at that point, I stopped giving my presentations to schools and businesses in Honolulu, and I said, where can I make the most difference? You've heard of the phrase, think outside the box? Each person in this room needs to think how they can rise to their highest level. What is the sphere of influence they have? And then how can they exceed that? Ideas are very powerful. Whether it's write a letter to the editor, something you've never done. Whether it's try to place a phone call to someone very important, somebody you've never spoken to. It's time to be thinking outside of the box. I call myself a climate warrior, and I think it's time for everybody to do that.
Thank you.
Yes, anybody else who would like to follow up? This was directed to each other. Yes.
The most important thing, I think, is to change our thinking about our relationship to each other and to the world, to the planet. You've heard today many examples of people with the very best of intentions doing the very best they can, and yet many of us still are operating from within a paradigm based on growth, based on consumption, based on assumptions that we've had over the past 2 centuries at least. And that's the very thing we have to change. The thinking has to change. And we have to get over the fact that if we start thinking in terms of whole systems, then linearity goes out of the window, and we can integrate and transcend what we have. For me, that's the key. And forgive me for being very provocative this afternoon. It was a very tongue-in-cheek presentation from me. I just needed to do it because all around the world I contribute and listen and facilitate meetings like this, and I'm getting to the stage where at 64 years old I'm just getting a grumpy old man, so please forgive me.
Anyone else would like to take up the challenge before we go back to the audience?
Yeah, I'm an awesome practical person. I would first like to completely just agree with what other members of the panels have said. You basically, we have, like this, I've been around on this also for a long time, and I've heard enough, with the talk and what people should do, and not meaning usually nobody in specific or somebody else, right? If you see, the people, go to work, do their thing, there's a lot happening. If we look at, what people are doing, in households and private consumption, I agree, it's actually there, where it has to start. And it's not enough to talk, but to take action, right? And I agree with what you have said, like everything that is outside of this room and is really out of our control. But I think this focus on oneself I think that's a solid first step.
I'll say one thing.
Yes.
The title of this event is Save Our Planet, but actually it's Save Ourselves, huh? The planet has been around for what, 4 billion years? It'll be around long after we're dead and gone. We've been around how long? 1,000, 100,000 years? 200,000 years? The Earth isn't going anywhere. We are. Okay, that's for sure. And the ability of the Earth to sustain the population, everybody have heard a lot about population today, 7 billion people, is a function of 3 things. The absolute number of people, the level of consumption of those people, and the technology available to deliver that level of consumption. So you have 3 variables, excuse my engineer in me, you have 3 variables to play with, okay? You can either reduce the population, you can reduce the level of consumption of that population, or you can do something about the technology to deliver that level of consumption. Now, in the last Save Our Planet #1, we had Dr. Dekuto, right, I believe it was, who was from a fuel cell company. And the issue of hydrogen infrastructure came up. Oh, it's too difficult. We can't build a hydrogen infrastructure, so on and so forth. And somebody mentioned it today, I think it was you, that mentioned World War II. And I'll tell you just a short story from my own industry, okay? We are involved in refining, all basic material productions, from energy to chemicals to whatever.